All right, already having a little bit of fun here with new head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, Ralph Krueger. It joins us here in the Instigators. We're live in the atrium down here at the KeyBank Center. And I have to make a note, if you're coming down to the Sabres store, you have to go up the escalator. The store's under renovation. So there's your public service announcement. We're down here in the atrium. Come say hi to us if you want to meet Marty Biron, the great Marty Biron. Let's not waste any more.
If you want to see us wearing the same golf shirt, me, PD, and Riffs showed up today with the same shirt. Not organized.
Beautiful. This is not planned.
Not planned at all.
Not planned.
No not planned.
Oh, you like that, do you? Did I say that with like a soccer kind of accent?
Yeah.
Do you like the shirts?
They're beautiful.
Would you like one?
Yeah, I think I actually have one on underneath here.
Our producer brought you one. We don't know which one of us is going to play the role of suck up and give it to you. So let's get right to it. You know, we've had you on the show before. Welcome, thank you, and welcome to Buffalo.
Thanks to be here.
That was fun to watch yesterday, your introduction press conference. But let's just get right into the fun stuff. And my first question for you is, I was wondering, as the new head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, if you feel the amount of private investment money chasing middle market lending dollars and the narrow yield spread indicator are trouble indicators of a recession similar to 2008.
He's been doing his World Economic Forum research in the last 3 weeks. That's excellent. Yeah.
You know, he's been watching movies. This is a line from the movie Old School. So
He didn't read any of that.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, no, I just, I wanted to finish with that the last time around. No, seriously, I just having a lot of fun. Someone actually tweeted that to me. They thought they got a kick out of our ending of our last conversation.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, not bad, huh? So how's everything going? How's the welcome party been? Let's call it that.
Well, it's outstanding. We had a dinner last night where also the size of the organization, together with the Bills and the Sabres and all the other families and sports that are here, gives you an exciting feel where you can access information and find peers in other sports that you can interact with. So it's yes, the NHL and the Sabres is the center of everything, but what a professional organization, so much passion here, a lot of good people I've met already, specialists, which are important. All four of us are specialists at something. You guys have to let me know what you're specialists at. Otherwise,
so you didn't do your homework on us before you came on here? What we're special at?
When he said you guys, he pointed at you, PD, and you, Revs. He knows what my specialty is about, so that's good. So I'm good over here.
Hey guys, I just spent breakfast already with Chris Taylor, our head coach over in Rochester. Yep. I had him out here at 6:30 this morning, and we had a good breakfast. He wasn't that hungry yet, but had a good chat. I just spent an hour with our head of performance, Joe, and it's so exciting for me to see the support I'm going to be having as a head coach and the people I can access and the information that's here. There's been a lot. I said it at the press conference yesterday. There's been a lot of really good groundwork done here over the last years. So I know I can go right to work, guys, and I think that's important for all of us.
You mentioned the Bills, and you came from soccer background in England. So how much do you want to learn or rely on your experience with other sports? We see Jason Botterill. He's in the draft room at One Bills Drive when the Bills are drafting a couple of weeks ago. And how much do you rely on your experience with other sports to bring into hockey?
I think, Marty, it's a time where hockey, we have to agree that for multiple decades, many things were just done copy-paste, and people were afraid of change, thinking it was going to take their jobs away instead of looking at it as an opportunity to take our sport to another level. And I'm going to bring it in a careful way. I'm not the kind of person that likes to surprise players in the wrong way. I want to make sure they understand why we're doing things when we do them, and that they buy into it on the way, and that when we're doing it, we're all in together. It's not like, okay, here, our pre-activation is going to have this element because I saw it on the soccer field. No, it's going to be the pre-activation is coming in here because we're going to make you a better hockey player on the ice, and we're going to activate better into our practices, and we're going to avoid soft tissue injuries. And this sounds a little bit like a World Economic Forum talk now on medical care, but it's you know what I'm getting at.
But I like it because our generation was let's do a 10-minute stretch in the locker room, like touch your toe, the quad. and then
Could
let's
you
go
ever
for
touch
practice.
your toes, Marty?
I could touch my toes. I don't know that I can now.
With a
but
straight knee or a bent knee?
Slight bend. But, I mean, that's what we were doing. Now it's changed.
I could never touch my toes. I couldn't. You could. You were super flexible.
I was flexible. I put a lot into the flexibility part. I think that was helped with injuries and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're talking about spreading your message, you're going to have to bring in people that are around you. You're only as good as the people that work beside you.
Sure.
And you've spoken about going out and kind of filling your staff together. How long do you think before you can kind of do all your due diligence on all the people and have your staff?
Well, we're running interviews here right now, and again, Jason and I really want to get this right, and I'd rather start with a quality staff and possibly add later on as I see, because as a head coach, I think at the very beginning you need to be the primary voice and make sure that the culture is set in the first few months, and then use your assistants all the time in special situations, PK, and so on and so forth. But the main message and the main drivers will come from me initially, and we will probably have a staff in place, I would say, by the end of June, where we then again can spend 2 or 3 weeks there. I've been overwhelmed by the applications we've received, people that I didn't expect would be interested in coming here, and you can see that there is a buzz around the potential of the Sabres. Now we've got to turn that around and make sure it happens on the ice. Yeah. But getting those people right, you mentioned it also in the show last time when you spoke to me, and getting those people right culturally is going to be important. I met Chris Taylor today in Rochester. I know it's a check mark. They're culturally, he's an excellent head coach there. He's got everything going in the direction that I like, and we just had such a natural conversation this morning. So I can see why I'm here, is that I was hired fitting into the culture that's been built, and now it's up to me to get the right staff in place so the players feel that strength in our room.
What do you like on the bench? Because we see like Boston and St. Louis in the finals, they have like 5 coaches on the bench, and there's everybody's got an iPad. When I played for the Rangers with Torts, there was John Tortorella, Mike Sullivan. There was no other coaches on the bench. What do you like on the bench? Having multiple assistant or being in charge? How does the bench work for you?
For me, simplicity is always important, and within that, I find if it's simple and clear for the players, then we can be spontaneous and we can adapt. But I like a simple, clean bench. I think 3 on the bench max, and possibly in this modern era, you might have a video support off to the side who then can bring iPads into play if it makes sense or if it doesn't. But I think we need to keep our players moving in a game in the moment and forward. I mean, it's not worth it if you've missed 5 scoring chances to look at those right at that time. We can work on that maybe tomorrow or in practice or whatever. So let's keep flowing within the game, and we have to make sure we're not overcoaching. I'm not an overcoach during the games. I think the off-ice work that I like to do and the non-game days are where most of my teaching would happen. And within the game day, I like to live that day, let it flow, let the players, minds be free and not overload them. So I would see 3 on the bench right now.
How many mistakes do you let a guy make in a game before you say something to him?
Yeah, that's always a question of whether the mistake is honest or dishonest. Whether if a player is trying hard, I'd like players to play on their toes here in the Sabres, and I think playing on your toes means that you have the courage and also know that it's okay to make a mistake. For me, it would be worse if we go down losing games where we haven't tried and we haven't given it our best shot. So making mistakes is it's important that we keep our body language positive and healthy, even if we have adversity within the game. And how many mistakes? I don't know, Andrew.
UPD is 1. PD, you only get 1. Rivs gets 5.
It's true. There always seems to be a longer leash for the guys that play more, understandably so, okay? But I mean, I believe every player, I don't care if it's your star player or your 4th line guy that plays 5-6 minutes a night. If they're afraid to go out there and make a mistake, you're not going to get maximum performance from them at all.
No, for sure there's room for error. It's part of the game. And I think that if I will use the word connected a lot. If you're watching our games and you feel with and without the puck, we're moving in a connected way. That's how I like to set up the team. And then within that, if we make mistakes or there's breakdowns, I stay very calm during games. I think that's something that's going to be part of our process, and it's part of the sport. But I don't get caught up a lot in that. I don't get caught up in us going up or down during a game. I like to be supportive on the bench, and you know, obviously if you're playing well and you're giving your best and you make a mistake here and there, let's deal with it if it's necessary. But often I don't even like to speak about it during the game. Let's do it the next day.
You know, hockey's a game of mistakes,
yes,
right? I mean, there's not been a hockey game that's ever played in the history where there has not been mistakes. It's just having young players understand how to manage the puck in certain areas of the ice so you're not making key mistakes.
Yes.
You know, speaking of, you know, a player here in Buffalo that has kind of been under fire a little bit because of his analytics and, you know, some of the things that we had a player on our team last year, Rasmus Ristolainen, that was minus 41. And people look at that and say, well, he had a terrible season. Well, there's a lot of things that he did exceptionally well last year. You know, this is a player I think is a huge part of the Sabres moving forward. He plays the game with passion and with grit and has a lot of positive, but there are parts of his game that he needs some guidance in. How do you feel that you can, you know, help out a player like Rasmus Ristolainen that has garnered a lot of the workload for a lot of years on this team?
Well, first of all, the plus-minus statistic, as all three of you know, is a dangerous one. You have to be careful. It's you know, if you're playing against the best players of the other team all the time, game in, game out, and the team is having a tough stretch, then you're going to pay the price for that. And it's it is a team game. So I'm careful with statistics, and they can always be manipulated. But I think when you look at Risto, I mean, the skill set, the passion, like you've already said, for me, it's really important that we become an excellent team also away from the puck, and he loves that part of his game and wants to bring an aggressive element to it. And we need to be an aggressive defensive team. We want to get the puck back as quick as possible, and we can only do that with an aggressive mindset.
He has both of those things that you mentioned, you know, the necessities, the grit and the bite, in that game of his.
Yeah, no, and I think I'm excited with together with whoever leads our defensemen. That coach, of course, will have the main role of the one-on-one coaching and teaching. And for me, it will be more as a head coach working on the concept, like I've told you, to connect these guys and to bring them together and give him the support and everybody else so that we lower our goals against, period. You know, I think the shots against last year were too high. We need to tighten up and increase our productivity for the amount of scoring chances that we created last year. The finishing was an issue. So at both ends, and that will help Risto. But he's definitely a centerpiece in this. And look at the minutes he chomped down last year. That's quite.
Not only were the shots high against the Sabres last year, but the slot shots, the quality shots from the scoring areas were very high, because we all feel here, and we've been watching it for many years, that the connection in the defensive zone was not the right one. Like guys were caught out of position, there was guys wide open. The game has changed. 20 years ago, it was a strict defensive zone coverage. You had your quadrants, you stayed there. Now some teams go more to that man-to-man, try to create the turnover right away and get the transition game going. Where do you feel your philosophy in the defensive zone is? Because it's something that the fans have seen kind of slip away in the last few seasons. Yeah,
I think definitely it's again creating pressure at the puck, and then as you move away from the puck and your role drops from second, third, fourth, fifth player, you will have more of a zone than a man possibly focus. But at the puck, the aggressiveness is going to be important, and what that does is, you know, stops those long cycling shifts. Now, when we moved the blue lines, it changed the game. I mean, and you need to, first of all, be much more aggressive than you used to be at the blue line, so that entries become difficult. You don't want to give simple, soft entries at any point in time. So it begins all the way up in the offensive zone, of course, is where defense starts. You well know that as a goalie, that what happens over there, you know, it's 6, 7 things that need to happen before a goal falls. And I think that being aggressive before we even get into the D zone will be the beginning of everything. But in the zone itself, it's the aggressiveness at the puck and the support then that occurs behind that with less of a man focus as you move away from it. So it's not complicated, but it's hard work, and you need to be always active and willing to work for your gap away from the puck. The other support guys will be critical.
How long does it take to teach? How long do you give yourself? You're coming into September to camp, and you say, okay, by November 1st, I want everybody to get a good understanding, or is it January? How long does it take to get everybody on the same page?
Well, like I told you when we spoke the first time, guys, it's until you're actually on the ice with the team and you're working with them and you have a game, it's hard to read where the group is at right now. I'm going to spend the next 3 months trying to figure out over some video footage, and I've got a lot of games on the laptop loaded right now to visualize that. But really, I'll find out when I'm on the game. But I mean, you will feel hopefully very quickly a certain structure within the game that we're playing. I don't believe it should take too long. We have a lot of smart players in the room. We have a lot of skill. We have a lot of passion. We have a lot of hunger to want to win. And I think I'm expecting that we should see some results right off the hop.
Ralph Krueger, 19th head coach in Sabres history, joins the Instigators right now from the atrium at the KeyBank Center.
Beautiful.
So glad to have you.
It used to be players' pictures up here, but I think next year maybe yours, like right up on the right, as a newcomer, like so people can see your face when they come in.
So if we're new players and we're watching your press conference, because not all new players can be here, but they're all dialed in and paying attention, and maybe some of them, maybe a majority of them you haven't spoken to yet. They're going to wonder, what is the coach's standard? What's the standard that's going to be set to help us set an identity? We talk about team identity all the time. What's Ralph Krueger's?
Well, the most important thing would be our level of communication. I think that keeping everything open, honest, flowing all the time, emotions real. So if we're angry, let's be angry, and let's not act it, and let's above all, though, within all of the emotions we experience during a year, I expect a solution mentality. I expected a constructive mentality in everybody's behavior. Like I was asked yesterday about the past, and I really don't spend a lot of time there. As soon as I get my lessons out of the past, boom, let's go.
You said let's not act it. Can you tell the difference between the guys that are acting angry and the guys that are really angry? Because I'm going to tell you, I've played with some guys that used to throw their helmet at the perfect time when the coach is walking in.
And they got more ice.
Those guys, they exist. They look at the clock. Coach is coming. Come on, we got to be better. Yeah, listen to what he's saying. We got to be better. He's got the heart of a lion.
I can think of one guy.
The guy.
There's not 28 of them like that.
No, there's not. There's like, what are you talking about? 20. Anyway, can you tell the difference between the guys, Mr. Krueger, or not? Because that's real.
I think I can. I think if there's one thing that I believe I have a skill at, it's feeling the emotions of the room, and whether or not are honest, or looking at 20 players at a pre-game talk, I can feel if one guy is not there and not on. I'm very, very intuitive that way, and in the end, I want an honest locker room, and I want guys to really be real.
We saw some clips of you in Edmonton. About changing the culture, and guys want to be on board and not calling out, but addressing a conversation you had with Sean Horkoff about Hork. We had a conversation about playing meaningful games in March and April. Is that a normal, like if the times are tough, is that what the players will see from you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very quick, too. I don't hold grudges at all. So if you really piss me off once during this year, don't worry. I won't hold a grudge.
Will you tell me on air so that everybody knows if there's some kind of awkwardness between us, at least it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's not lower body, upper body. It's just, it's emotional, and we'll leave it there.
But really, I think let's just have honest conversations. I don't hold grudges. But what I will do is be really straight and honest with the players at all times, and I'll pick the spots when it's in the team environment or when it's a one-on-one. You have to have a feel for that too. There's situations where you need to pull it out of the team environment, but it's in the end it's about getting the best out of the players, and it's creating an environment where they can perform and where they have where they have an excitement coming in, whether it's a practice day or a game day or whether it's even a meeting. Let's construct a meeting so they look forward to them and not go, another meeting. And all of those things will be.
You don't want your players thinking about the video during the game that they're playing. The video, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, what was I told? No.
Guy come off the ice, he's like, that's going to be on the video tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the last thing a guy should be worried about.
Exactly.
Ralph Krueger joining us here with the Instigators. A few more minutes with him as meetings are going to take place. Do you have anything you want to throw on the table here, River?
You expressed yesterday that you had some discussions with Jack and Sam over at the World Championships. You said that you were more of a listener and allowed them to speak and get things off their chest. Were there any certain things that you can let us know that bothered them or things that they felt that this team could improve on?
Well, what I was impressed about is they both didn't spend any time complaining about the past or speaking about the past in a negative way. Without any prompting from me whatsoever, these guys want to speak about how are we going to do this? How are we going to fix this? How are we going to become competitive? And so I enjoyed that part of it coming out at the end when I processed the time together. I would say that was my major takeaway is there were no negative comments made. It was more this is how on match days, game days, sorry, I can't use match days too much anymore.
No, that's good.
but let's start using match days here in Buffalo.
You used soccer field earlier. You didn't call it a pitch, so that was very impressive. But match day is fine with me.
But you're going to get that would, Craig. That would have been the best part of it. Is you guys know yourself. I mean, there's nothing worse than walking into a space and somebody sitting there and trying to make you feel empowered by saying everything there was bad, right? Because it wasn't. Everything wasn't bad. There's a lot of good things that we're going to take with, and I'm picking and choosing those things. There's been hard work done here. Your coaching staff gave everything last season, and they were a good coaching staff. They stuck together as a team. They stayed positive, and they stayed on topic, and the results just didn't come. So let's take those good things with us and build on them. And this isn't a rebuild, guys. I told you that when I took over. It's not a rebuild. It's a build on, and it's a build. Find those 5 percentage points to increase the W's, you know.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you about goaltending. Obviously, we are looking at the finals right now. You had Rask and Halak kind of split with Boston all season long. You have Jordan Binnington who came in late. We don't see a lot of goalies playing 65, 70 games anymore. Where do you see the work with Allmark and Hutton going, and how is that partnership going to work for you making this team successful?
Well, I feel very comfortable with both of them, and I think also that the relationship of age is healthy. It's a healthy mix, but their actions and their will decide and dictate that. And the goalkeeper coach, whoever that will be, then we're still in the process of analyzing, and I think that coach will have a big responsibility in managing his part. I like to empower the people that I bring in, and what I know is there's a huge upside for both of them, and I think with a good structure and a solid team game in front of them, it'll become a different situation for them too. But let's. I don't have a real big plan there, Marty. I think you've got to go with the flow sometimes, and your gut has to feel whether it's right, and sometimes leaving somebody in for a longer run could be the right thing, but mixing it up. And I'm big on energy, and I think when you look at the pace that we're going to have next year, using both, in a 60-40 possibly kind of split would be probably my first tendency, but then let's see what happens.
What about back-to-backs? I mean, I know some coaches don't like to play the same goalies on back-to-backs. Some goalies like to play 2 games in 2 days. What is your philosophy on back-to-backs?
Again, generally, usually in the past, that would be, during the regular season, that would be a split situation, depending on who the opposition is. But you need to be spontaneous. You need to feel what the group needs on the day, and you need to be ready to give up on maybe what your core philosophy is, which mine would be separating the energy between the 2 goalies.
Okay. Might want to communicate that with Carter Hutton before he comes on the show next, just so that you guys are on the same page. We don't want to have any confusion on your first day. Before before you go, you went. You were here in Buffalo, going, around town and, checking out the sites, if you will.
It's called bar hopping.
You were bar hopping, and there's been some great. There's been some that story really took off. I mean, what did you learn about Buffalo in your time when you were undercover, incognito?
Well, I think the way the city is coming around is amazing. If you look at Elmwood Village and Allentown and all the way, so much of the architecture here and buildings that are 100+ years old, how proud the community has been in renovating, whether it's a house or it's a commercial building. I think that there's a soul here. I like the size of the city. There's pockets of really good restaurants and there's nature. If you look at the Delaware Park, and I'm a bit of a cross-country skier, so I can enjoy the winter. I think sometimes
I believe they call that Nordic
resisting
skiing,
it's like things like that. So I see it's what life is always what we make of it, and I see a lot of positive things here that I'm going to have. My wife and I'll have pleasure enjoying the city.
All right, Ralph Krueger, great first introduction with you here on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. What an honor! Twice in 1 month. Is that a record?
I think we had Phil Housley once in 3 years, so this is pretty good. We'll take this consistency out of you for sure.
Well, I was invited to go to the Tonight Show, and I picked you guys today. So
there we go. Yeah, we don't blame you. They would have grilled you.
I feel like that's the first lie you've ever told. So
exactly. Interesting person you've ever met outside of hockey before I let you. I've been meaning to ask you that because you've dealt with some. Like Nelson Mandela. Did you ever meet Nelson Mandela?
Yeah. I would say Tony Blair at the World Economic Forum, one of the best orators, speakers I've ever met in my life, and that was quite an experience. He's not a politician, really. He was, although everybody would see him that way. That was a good experience. But I think the best experiences we have is in hockey, and I remember meeting Scotty Bowman about 20 years ago, and he asked me a few questions, and I know when I see Scotty next, we're going to have an amazing conversation. I've been running into him over the last 20 years many times, and I just love the passion and the learners I've had with him. So if Scotty is watching your show, which I'm sure he does every day.
I can tell you where to find him.
You're lucky you said that. I thought you were going to say, as I'm sure he doesn't. That's what I thought you were
does. You know where to find him. Transit Valley Country Club. He's probably on the third tee.
Way to go, Marty. Way to out him. Way to out him. Millions of people watching.
I would say the person I want to run into now is the Buffalo Sabres coach is Scotty. It'll be an excellent conversation.
Oh yeah.
He has a lot of great things to say about Craig Rivet. So that's the absolute truth.